In this video, I want to show you a basic overview of the most important menus and where things are in general in terms of HardOPS and Boxcutter. So let me start with Boxcutter. So press Alt W to activate it. We're going to add a cube, and right off the bat, you can see on the top, we have this permanent Boxcutter menu. I'm going to explain all these tools in a separate video, all these options. So this video is just to show you kind of like a bird's eye view and make you understand where things are and what's up with these add-ons, okay? So that's a permanent menu for Boxcutter. If you're going to press Alt W again to switch to HardOPS, you will switch to HardOPS menu on the top, right? Now, there are certain menus that don't shift, like for example this one. This HardOPS menu here is going to always be at the top here, regardless of which add-on you're in. Let's go back to Boxcutter. We're going to talk about two menus you're going to be using all the time when you're working with Boxcutter. First of them is going to be D menu, and this menu is going to be only accessible when you're in Boxcutter mode. If I'm going to switch to HardOPS, you can't access it, you're gonna see different tool. And again, if you're using decal machine, for example, you wanna quit Boxcutter to press D for decal machine. I don't have it installed here, but if I go to Blender 4.3, you see that decal machine is gonna pop here. And if I activate Boxcutter, I'm gonna have this menu. And if I'm gonna switch to HardOPS, I'm gonna have this menu. So it really depends in which mode you are, so be careful, right? So D menu is gonna be the most important menu for Boxcutter. Then you have Shift V menu, which is going to be view menu. And that one is really essential too, because it's going to help you to cut from certain views or align cutters to certain edges, faces, and angles. So these two menus are really important. And these are shortcut menus for Boxcutter. But Boxcutter also has a contextual menu. So when I'm going to click on this box here and start drawing a cutter. Let's do it slower. Start drawing a cutter, right? You see on the bottom, you have this massive contextual menu for this boolean. I can now bevel it with B. I can, press G and Z to move it. I can rotate it with R. All these options are listed in the bottom. So when you're working with certain tools, and it goes both for Boxcutter and HardOPS, you're gonna have these contextual menus on a screen. Not a contextual menu that we enabled in the intro section with HardOPS, which is this Boxcutter notifications. He's here underneath the cube. So watch, if I'm gonna start dragging this cutter, that's the menu I'm talking about. So you can also adjust a few things in here. Like for example, you could switch the solver for the Boolean modifier between fast with Alt E and exact, and it's going to switch this option here, right? Again, we're going to talk about it later on, so don't worry about it if you don't know what it is. So these are menus for Boxcutter. Now for HardOPS, in order to use HardOPS menus, except for the D menu, right? You don't have to be in HardOPS mode, you can be in Boxcutter, which is why again, like I said in the intro section, we installed Boxcutter second. So when you press Alt W, you already can work in immediately without switching to HardOPS. So when you're going to press Q for HardOPS menu, which is a main HardOPS menu, this menu you're going to be using all the time. And this menu also changes depending on which mode you're in. So now we're in object mode, you can see here in the top, right? If I switch to edit mode, it's going to be a different menu. And the reason for that is because HardOPS is suggesting you the most logical choice of tools for the specific state of the mesh. So for instance, here, obviously, one of the first things you would do, logically, is to bevel it. You might also want to array this, right? Etc. So it's a very interesting way of organizing tools. And it goes much deeper. For example, if you go to modifiers, you don't see all the modifiers. You see the most important modifiers for hard surface. In addition, they kind of stacked in an order that makes sense. So bevel, solidify, array, and mirror. Which is really helpful because it speeds up your workflow immensely and doesn't store unimportant information on tools on a screen. So that's really cool. Awesome, so that's a Q menu. Next one is Alt V menu, which is a combination of this menu, viewport overlays, viewport shading, and also some HardOPS tools. So for example, you see overlays, which are here, right? You got face orientation, which is here, right? This one. But I also got cavity, which is under this menu. So it sort of bunches up the most important things in one place that you might be interested in, including matcaps. Next one's gonna be Alt M menu, which is really useful for working with BSDF mats. So when you're working with BSDF mats, you're gonna be using that menu quite a lot. Now we're not using this at all or very rarely because we use now Materialworks, which is on our texturing add-on, so we don't really need that. And the last menu I'm using quite a lot is Control tilde menu, and tilde is a key to the left of your number 1 key on the keyboard, although it depends on the keyboard, so you need to check where your tilde key actually is. And this menu is going to help you set different things or behaviors for HardOPS. Like for example, set what kind of attribute you're going to be assigning to an edge when you're going to go with the sharpen option. Right, so if I click on sharpen, sharpen is going to apply certain things, including crease, B-weight, and sharp to my edges at the same time. Also, it's going to apply smooth by angle. So here you're going to be setting all the default settings for HardOPS behavior. And just like Boxcutter, HardOPS also has a contextual menu. So if I, for example, go to Q menu and press on bevel, you will see this massive menu on the right hand side. You can collapse it by pressing H, right? And you can see all the options that you can use with bevel. So for instance, I could press N to add hard normals if I, for example, don't want to work with weighted normal modifier, right? And you can see all the other options that might be useful to your workflow. Now, there's also an end panel menu, but honestly, I never use this. And to be honest, this menu, for example, is exactly the same as this one for HardOPS, so I see 0 point of going here and using that menu. So to sum it up, you're going to be working with this top menu from Boxcutter, top menu from HardOPS. You're going to be working with D menu from Boxcutter, Shift V menu, then Q menu from HardOPS, Alt V menu from HardOPS, Alt M menu for HardOPS, and Control tilde menu for HardOPS. And also the contextual menus, so the H menu for HardOPS and the contextual menu here for Boxcutter. And these are all the menus that I use when I work with these add-ons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.